Breaking Down the Law is sponsored by Battle-Born Injury Law.
We are, in fact, breaking down the law with Matt Hoffmann of Battle-Born Injury Lawyers. Today, we tackle criminal justice reform, in particular, major changes that have been made to Nevada's criminal justice system. And this is something even, Matt, at the national level, Republicans and Democrats have been able to agree upon and implement changes. And so we're even seeing that here at the state level. So this was a massive bill.
Yeah.
More than 100 pages, very comprehensive. So let's just kind of get to the meat of some of it. In particular, one area we want to focus on, the bill focusing on rehabilitation as opposed to more incarceration. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so since, it's been going on for a while where we've had more of these diversionary programs like drug court, mental health court. And what this bill does is it incentivizes potential defendants to utilize those. So for example, with let's say somebody gets a DUI. Under the current system, if it's a first-time offense, you can usually get some kind of a plea bargain or pay a fine, etc. But it's on your record. This provides now, under the new law, you could have an option. If you're determined to have a substance abuse disorder, you can get successfully complete alcohol treatment program, for example. And then if you do, the judge will deem you to have served your sentence, so to speak, and your case is sealed. So it's as though it never happened. And so that's a big incentive to hopefully get people that have problems to get help. Because really the goal is to prevent second offenses, third offenses.
People getting back into the system.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And ultimately we end up paying for it as taxpayers. And you know, some of these people maybe don't need to be in jail, as you mentioned. They're getting the help that they need. And ultimately that helps us all in the long run because they get in the cycle.
Yeah, well, I mean, the number one way for somebody to become a criminal is to put them in jail. You know, recidivism is a big problem where people go to prison, they get out, and everyone says, well, you served your time, but we kind of put a scarlet letter on them. And it's difficult for them to get jobs. It's difficult for them to get around transportation. And what happens, another part of this bill, is it reduces basically penalties for technical violations of probation and parole.
Got it.
So somebody misses a meeting with a parole officer. Now the parole officer can look into, well, why did they miss? And there's some sanctions that don't involve just sending them back to prison.
Gotcha.
And that's the whole idea of this, is let's take a more, realistic look at why people are making these technical mistakes. Maybe they weren't able to make a restitution payment. Well, why? And instead of just throwing the book at everybody.
Alternative ways of dealing with it. And let's get to this point too very quickly here, Matt, before we wrap up. Another part of this, sealing the records of offenders whose crimes have now become decriminalized. This is a big issue when it comes to marijuana because now it's legal.
Yes, exactly. And so, and that was a previous law, and it's referenced in this law, is that, look, it used to be illegal if you were convicted of possession of marijuana of an amount that is now legal, so less than an ounce. You can now have that sealed. And that's a big deal because then if it's sealed, you can legally say under oath, no, I have not been convicted of a crime. And that has huge implications with employment and otherwise. But the biggest thing on this is cost savings. They're talking between $500 and $600 million in projected savings over the next 10 years because of less people in the prison system.
And hopefully the hope as well as this is you have less people in the system, so then you have people that are able to get maybe some help, treatment, take some steps to being more productive members of society. So overall that helps us all in the long run.
Exactly, and that should be the goal, I would think, that everyone could agree with, not to just keep putting people in prison.
Well, anytime you can get Republicans and Democrats to agree on it and push it through the way they did, I mean, that is saying something. So Matt Hoffmann breaking down the law with us again. We appreciate you each and every Wednesday. Stay tuned. Also, hey, Facebook Live, the conversation continues because we just can't get enough of Matt and picking his brain and all the good info he has to pass along. So we appreciate that.